My sister called me crying after her divorce and begged to stay temporarily, so I opened my home. 6 months later, I came home and found something that made me change every single lock that night. She called me from a parking lot. That detail stayed with me afterward, the specific geography of it, the particular image of my sister sitting in her car in a parking lot at 11 o'clock on a Wednesday night calling me because the parking lot was where she had gone when the house she had shared with her husband for 7 years became the house she could no longer be inside. I could hear the engine running in the background. I could hear her breathing in the specific way she breathed when she was trying not to cry and was losing the effort. "I don't have anywhere to go," she said. My sister's name is Francine. She is 3 years older than me, and she had been married to a man named Douglas for 7 years, and the marriage had ended in the specific way of certain marriages, not with a single catastrophic event, but with the accumulation of small failures that had built into something large enough to be irreversible. I did not know all the details. Francine had shared what she had been able to share, and I had not pushed for more because not pushing was what she needed, and I understood that. "Come here," I said. "Tonight. Right now." "I don't want to impose," she said. Francine. Just her name. The specific tone of someone who has decided that the sentence required is too obvious to say. She came. She arrived at 1 in the morning with 2 bags and the specific exhausted quality of someone who has been crying for longer than crying is sustainable and has arrived at the hollow stage beyond the crying where the body is simply continuing without the emotional content to drive it. I made tea. I made up the guest room. I sat with her at my kitchen table until 3 in the morning while she told me what she was able to tell me, and I listened with the particular quality of listening that does not require the speaker to reach any conclusion or produce any resolution, that simply holds the space for the speaking. She went to bed at 3. I sat at the table for another hour. I thought about my sister in the parking lot with the engine running. I thought about 2 bags. I thought about the word temporarily that she had used on the phone, carefully, the way people use words they want to establish as load-bearing from the beginning so that everyone understands the structure. Temporarily. My name is Nadia. I am 30 years old and I have a 2-bedroom apartment that I have lived in for 4 years, and that is mine in the specific complete way of something you have built without assistance, where every piece of furniture was chosen and every decision was made by you alone, where the particular order of things reflects a specific interior logic that is yours and only yours. I had opened it without hesitation. Temporarily was the word we had both understood. For the first 2 months, temporarily felt like the right word. Francine was looking for work, the legal job market being what it was in a city she had relocated to for Douglas's career and was now trying to build a life in without Douglas. She was attending to the specific practical aftermath of a divorce, the documents and the accounts, and the particular administrative dismantling of a life that had been legally joined with someone else's. She was going to therapy twice a week. She was doing the things that needed doing, and she was doing them with the focused efficiency of someone who has decided that momentum is the only available protection against the weight of what has happened. She was a good housemate. Considerate. Clean. Present when presence was what was needed and absent when absence was what was needed, with the specific instinct of a person who has lived with other people and has learned to read the temperature of shared spaces. I told myself the arrangement was working. The 3rd month introduced a texture I did not name immediately. Small things. The kind of things that individually could be filed under adjustment or coincidence, or the natural friction of 2 LT women sharing a space designed for one. My things moved. Not dramatically. The specific small repositioning of objects that communicates someone else has been in the space and has interacted with it without returning it to its original condition. The kitchen organized slightly differently. The bathroom products rearranged on the shelf in the order of someone else's preference. The thermostat adjusted to a temperature I had not set. I noted these things. I did not say anything. Because Francine was going through something and the thermostat was not the point and the reorganized kitchen was not the point, and pointing at small things when your sister is rebuilding her life from a parking lot has a specific meanness to it that I was not willing to embody. The 4th month the texture changed again. Francine had found work. A position at a firm downtown, good work, the specific quality of an opportunity that communicated her competence had been recognized and her professional rebuilding was underway. I had been genuinely happy for her. We had celebrated with dinner, the particular warm dinner of 2 sisters who are on the same side of something and are finding the being on the same side easy. She did not mention moving out. I noted that too. I did not say anything. The 5th month introduced someone named Marcus. I did not meet Marcus for 3 weeks after he became a presence in Francine's life, which I knew he had because Francine's phone was producing the specific behavior of someone who has a new person in their life and is monitoring the new person's communications with the particular attention of the early stage. She was happier. I was glad she was happier. Then she brought him to the apartment. Not for an introduction. He was simply there one evening when I came home, In my living room, on my couch, with the specific comfortable ease of someone who has been in a space enough times that the comfort has had time to develop. Francine introduced us. Marcus was warm. I was warm. We had a pleasant enough evening. Afterward, I sat in my bedroom and I thought about the temporarily from the parking lot phone call and the specific comfortable ease of Marcus on my couch, and I understood that the temporarily was undergoing a redefinition that I had not been consulted about. I said something. I chose a Sunday morning, the specific occasion of two sisters at a kitchen table with coffee, no agenda, the particular ease of an unstructured morning that communicates there is time for a real conversation. Francine, I said. I want to check in about the plan. She looked at me over her coffee. What plan? The temporary arrangement, I said. You've been here 5 months. You have a job now. I want to understand what the timeline looks like. Her face did the thing. Not anger. The specific rearrangement of features that communicates a person has been asked something they have been not asking themselves and is finding the being asked uncomfortable. I'm still getting settled, she said. The job is new. I can't afford a deposit right now. I understand that, I said. I am not asking you to leave tomorrow. I'm asking for a timeline. A target date. Something we are both working toward. I didn't realize you were in a rush to get rid of me, she said. The sentence arrived with the particular weight of something that is designed to make the person who said the true thing feel as though the true thing was an unkindness. I am not trying to get rid of you, I said. I'm trying to have an honest conversation about a shared space and what we are both expecting from it. I thought you wanted to help me, she said. I looked at my sister across the kitchen table. I do want to help you, I said. Helping you does not mean the arrangement has no shape. Helping you means being honest with you about what I need to. The conversation did not resolve cleanly. Francine said she would think about it. She did not bring it up again. I did not push. The 6th month I was sent to a work conference for 4 days. Chicago. The specific concentrated 4 days of a professional conference, the panels and the networking in the hotel room that is both a relief from the usual routine and a particular kind of loneliness that conference hotel rooms produce. I had been looking forward to it for different reasons than I usually looked forward to work travel. 4 days of my own space, which was not my space anymore in the specific way it had been before the parking lot phone call, had the appeal of a small respite. I came home on the Thursday evening. The key went in the lock the way it always went in the lock. I pushed the door open. I stood in the doorway. I want to describe what I saw with complete accuracy because the accuracy is the only thing that does it justice. The apartment was rearranged. Not the small repositioning of the 3rd month. Not the thermostat. Not the kitchen organization. The apartment was rearranged. My furniture was in different positions. Not all of it. Enough of it. The couch at a different angle. My desk moved from the 2nd bedroom where I used it as an office into the corner of the living room. The 2nd bedroom itself rearranged entirely, and when I say entirely I mean that the guest room configuration that had been Francine's for 6 months had been replaced with something different, something that communicated a different function, the specific arrangement of a room that is no longer a guest room, and has been converted into something more permanent. More permanent. I stood in the doorway of what had been the guest room. There were shelves. The small bookcase from the living room had been moved in here. Her books. Not in a pile, not in the organized chaos of temporary storage. Arranged. The specific careful arrangement of books in a room that someone has decided is their room. I stood very still. I walked to the living room. I stood in the living room that was my living room with its furniture at different angles. I walked to the kitchen. On the kitchen counter, next to the coffee maker, was a key. Not my key. The specific shape of a spare key, the copy I had given Francine when she arrived 6 months ago so that she could come and go while I was at work. Next to it, a second key. I looked at the second key. I picked it up. It was a duplicate of my apartment key. Francine had made a copy of my key. Without asking. Without telling me. Without the specific conversation that making a copy of someone's key without their knowledge requires and did not have. I put the key down. I stood in my kitchen. I thought about the parking lot and the 2 bags and temporarily. I thought about the conversation on the Sunday morning and I thought you wanted to help me. I thought about Marcus on my couch with the specific comfortable ease of someone who has been in a space enough times that the comfort has had time to develop. I looked at the rearranged living room. I looked at the 2nd bedroom that was no longer a guest room. I looked at the 2 keys on the counter. And I understood, with the specific cold clarity of a person who has been shown something that cannot be unshelved or reinterpreted into a more comfortable version, that the temporarily had ended a long time ago in Francine's understanding of the arrangement. And I had not been told. I got back in my car. I drove to the hardware store. It was 8:17 on a Thursday evening and the hardware store was still open, and I bought 2 new locks. Not because I was angry. Because the apartment was mine. And what I had come home to was the specific evidence that someone had decided it was no longer only mine. And that decision had not been mine to make. I drove home. I changed the locks that night. Francine called at 10:43. She had been out with Marcus when I came home. I knew this because her coat was not on the hook and her bag was not in its place, and the apartment had the specific quality of a space recently arranged and recently vacated, the particular stillness of a room that has been prepared for an audience and is waiting. I did not answer. Not from anger. From the particular discipline of someone who has understood that the conversation that was coming required the examined place, and that 10:43 on a Thursday night after 4 days of travel and an hour of changing locks was not the examined place. She called 3 more times. I did not answer. I sat in my rearranged living room and I looked at the furniture at the wrong angles, and I thought about what I was going to say and how I was going to say it and what I needed from the saying. At 11:58 a text arrived. I can't get in. My key isn't working. Are you home? I looked at the text. I put the phone face down. At 12:14 another text. Nadia, please. It's late. I'm outside. I picked up the phone. I typed, I know. I changed the locks tonight. I will call you tomorrow morning. You can stay at Marcus's tonight. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. What is happening right now? Tomorrow, I typed. 10 o'clock. I will call you at 10. I put the phone down. I moved the couch back to its original position. I moved the desk back to the second bedroom. I did not touch the second bedroom itself. I left it the way it was because the seeing of it was information I was going to need when I called at 10. I slept. Not easily. Not the specific clean sleep of someone who has resolved something. The particular thin sleep of someone who is in the middle of something and has made the decision to wait until morning and is maintaining the waiting through the night. I called at 10. She answered before the first ring completed. Nadia. Her voice had the specific quality of someone who has been awake and has been constructing arguments and is ready to deploy them. I need you to explain what happened last night. I'm going to explain, I said. And then I need you to listen completely before you respond. The way I listened to you in the parking lot. A pause. The particular pause of someone who has recognized the reference and understands what it is doing in the sentence. Okay, she said. I came home last night to an apartment that had been rearranged, I said. Not adjusted. Rearranged. My furniture moved. My desk relocated. The second bedroom converted from a guest room into something that communicated permanence. I kept my voice level. And on my kitchen counter there were 2 keys. Mine, which you have had since you arrived. And a second key, which is a copy of mine, made without my knowledge and without my permission. Silence. I want you to tell me when you made the copy, I said. The silence had the specific texture of someone who is deciding between the defensive version and the true one. 2 months ago, she said. 2 months ago. I thought it made sense to have a backup. Without asking me, I said. I didn't think you would. Francine. Her name, placed in the space. The specific tone. You made a copy of my key without asking me. You rearranged my apartment while I was away for 4 days. You converted the guest room without telling me. Those 3 things together are not a misunderstanding about a backup key. They are the specific actions of someone who has decided the arrangement is permanent, and has begun to make it permanent without the conversation that making it permanent requires. She was quiet. I told you 6 months ago this was temporary, she said. Yes, I said. And I was in a parking lot with 2 bags. I know where you were, I said. I answered the phone at 11 o'clock and I told you to come and I meant it and I would mean it again. That is not what this is about. Then what is it about, she said. It is about Sunday morning, I said. When I asked for a timeline and you asked me if I was trying to get rid of you. It is about the conversation that should have been had then and was deflected. It is about 2 months of a copy of my key existing in my apartment without my knowledge. It is about coming home from 4 days of travel to an apartment that has been physically converted toward a version of the arrangement that you decided on without me. Another silence. Marcus has been staying here, she said. Not a question. Not a confession. A statement placed in the space between us with the particular quality of something being acknowledged for the first time. I know, I said. Not every night. Francine. I stopped. I held the phone. I thought about what I needed to say and how to say it in the way that was true rather than the way that was reactive. I need to tell you something and I need you to hear it as the thing it is, which is honest, not as in at CK. She waited. You are my sister, I said. I love you. I answered the phone from a parking lot at 11 o'clock and I meant every word of what I said that night, and nothing that has happened since changes that. But the apartment is mine. The specific order of it and the specific decisions about it and the specific people who have access to it are mine to make. Not because I am selfish. Because it is the place I live, and the place I live is the thing that belongs to me completely, and when someone begins to make decisions about it as though it is theirs, without the conversation that making those decisions requires, something is lost that is not about keys or furniture. What is lost? She said. The respect for the difference between my space and a shared space, I said. You have been living here for 6 months and I have been glad to have you. But you stopped treating it as my space that you are in. You started treating it as a space that is becoming yours. Those are different things and the difference matters. She was crying. I could hear it. The specific quiet crying of someone who has been found in something and is understanding the finding it and is not certain whether to defend or to sit with the understanding. I didn't mean to, she said. I know, I said. I believe that completely. I believe you did not sit down one day and decide to take over my apartment. I believe it happened in the gradual way of someone who is building comfort in a space and has been allowed to build it for long enough that the building has exceeded its original footprint without anyone naming the exceeding. I was scared, she said. Of moving out. Of starting over again in a new place alone after. She stopped. I know you were scared, I said. I understand exactly what you were scared of. But the fear produced an action that required my participation, and I was not asked to participate. I was presented with the result. The locks, she said. Yes, I said. That felt. She stopped again. Tell me, I said. It felt like being locked out of somewhere I thought was safe, she said. I sat with that for a long time. The safe place is not the apartment, I said finally. The safe place is me. I am still here. I answered the phone at 11 and I am on this call at 10 and I will be here tomorrow. But the apartment is mine and the safety that the apartment represents depends on it being mine. When it stops being mine, when someone else begins to make its decisions, the thing that made it safe in the first place starts to erode. She was quiet for a long time. I need to find a place, she said. Yes, I said. Will you help me? She said. Yes, I said. Of course, yes. That is not a question. Nadia. Her voice had the stripped quality, the actual one. I am sorry. About the key. About the room. About Sunday morning when I made you feel like asking was an unkindness. That Sunday morning was the one I needed you to meet me at, I said. If we had had the real conversation then, none of the rest would have happened. I know, she said. I was afraid of it. I know you were, I said. But the afraid thing and the right thing are not always different things. Sometimes the afraid thing is the right thing and you just have to do it afraid. She found an apartment 6 weeks later. I helped her move. Not with the particular fraught quality of a helping that has accumulated grievance in it, not with the specific tension of two people doing a practical thing while the unspoken thing sits between them. With the genuine quality of two sisters doing the task at hand. I carried boxes. I helped arrange furniture. I stood in the doorway of her new kitchen and I looked at the space that was hers, specifically and only hers, and I felt something that was not relief exactly but was in the same territory. The specific good feeling of a right arrangement. She stood next to me. It's small, she said. It's yours, I said. She looked at it. It's mine, she said. I came for dinner 3 weeks after she moved in. She cooked the specific meal she always cooked when she wanted to communicate care, the one that took 3 hours, and that she had learned from our mother and that I had eaten at her table a dozen times before Douglas and the parking lot and the temporary arrangement. We sat at her table and we ate and we talked for 4 hours the way we had talked at my kitchen table at 3 in the morning 6 months ago, except this time neither of us was hollow and neither of us was performing fine and neither of us was managing the space between what was being said and what was true. At the end of the evening she walked me to the door. She hugged me. The specific hug of two sisters who have been through something and are on the other side of it and are both standing in the right arrangement. Thank you, she said. For the 6 months. And for the locks. I looked at her. The locks, I said. The locks were the thing that made the conversation happen, she said. I was going to keep not having it. I was going to keep being scared and building comfort in your space and not asking myself what I was doing. The locks made me stop. The conversation on Sunday morning was supposed to make you stop, I said. I know, she said. I wasn't ready on Sunday. I was ready at 10 o'clock the next morning outside my own door with a key that didn't work. She paused. Sometimes you have to be locked out to understand you were never supposed to be locked in. I drove home. My apartment was in its correct order. The furniture at the angles I had chosen. The desk in the second bedroom. The kitchen in the arrangement that was mine. I made tea. I sat at my kitchen table. I thought about 11 o'clock from a parking lot and come here and tonight and right now. I thought about the word temporarily and what it had meant to both of us and how the meanings had diverged in the 6 months between the parking lot and the hardware store. I thought about the dinner at Francine's table and the 4 hours and the specific good feeling of a right arrangement. 2 sisters in their own spaces. Each one the safe place for the other. Without one of them needing to be the other's ground. That was the arrangement. That had always been the arrangement. It had just taken a parking lot and 2 bags and 6 months and a hardware store and a key that didn't work to find it. Here is what I want to say to everyone who has opened their home to someone they love and has watched the temporarily become something else. The conversation on Sunday morning is not a cruelty. It is the thing that protects both of you. The person who needs the temporarily needs the boundary as much as you do. They need to know the footprint of the safe space so that they do not exceed it and find themselves on the other side of a changed lock at midnight trying to understand what happened. The limit is not the opposite of love. It is what love looks like when it is being honest about what it can hold. Say the timeline out loud. Put a shape on the temporary. Not to rush them. To protect the safe place from becoming a trap. For both of you. And if they call you from a parking lot, answer. Always answer. But know the difference between the door and the home. The door is always open. The home is yours. Keep both things true simultaneously. That is the whole job. That is all it has ever been.